Hello, good people. Welcome to your favorite show, and I'm your host, Kamwenyu. Today, I'm delighted to be joined by a passionate writer, a script writer, music producer, Mr. Leslie Mukwacha. He's joining us now. Mr. Leslie.
I'm good, thanks.
Welcome to the show.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. How are you?
I'm fine. I'm happy to be having you here today.
I'm happier.
You are launching your book.
Oh yeah, it's been quite a journey, but yeah, I'm happy that finally something is happening.
Yes.
Yeah.
So I want you to tell us more about your book, and I would like to know, like in detail, what the book is all about.
Well, the book, naturally, I'm a storyteller, so I sit around with friends, with family members, my sisters, my brothers, and I just tell them stories. And I decided that all these stories that I've collected, all my experiences, for all the time that I've been traveling, since I'm also into traveling, I decided then that maybe it's best for me to put them, down on paper and get people to read and share the same experiences.
Okay.
Yeah.
So what really inspired you, or what prompted you to come up with an idea and put it into action, saying that, I want to write a book?
Well, okay. I'm a tour guide by profession. And being a tour guide means I travel around Africa, the whole of Africa, except for maybe the Middle East section there, that side, after maybe West Africa and places like that are still having problems like instability. But I do trips that run all the way from Cape Town to Uganda.
Okay.
And during my travels, I take travelers from all over the world, and I guide them, or I lead them through the African countries, mostly Southern and Eastern African countries. And most of the times when we are on tour, there are things that happen, like when we go into the game reserves or into national parks, or when we visit natural wonders of the world, like the Victoria Falls. There are some things that happen that if you are not told about them, you will never get to know them. So I decided, because I sit around the campfire with my clients, and I tell them these stories. So some of my clients then suggested, Leslie, why don't you write a book? Because these stories are good.
Okay, looking at the title of the book, African Tour Leaders Campfire Tales.
Yes.
I think it says on its own what you go through, maybe during the journey of your touring all around the world.
Yeah.
And I would like to know how long you took to put all the stories, compiling all the information. How long did it take?
I've been a tour guide for over, let's say, 20 years. But it hasn't taken me that long to write the book, though.
Okay.
You'll be surprised that this book, I actually wrote it, I think, in about 2 weeks.
2 weeks?
Yeah, because I had the stories in my head. And sadly, COVID, about COVID, some will call it COVID or COVID, I don't know, COVID-19, it sent us home, especially us in the tourism industry, because there was no traveling in the world. So I remember I came back to Zimbabwe. I was in Namibia. I came to Zimbabwe. Was it 2020? I think it was in March. And I only went back to work just a few months ago. So during that time, I found time to then sit down and write. But my stories are like short stories. Okay. So to write one story could take me maybe about, say, an hour or two. It's actually the process of getting it published that is long, but the writing itself is not that long.
Okay, yeah. So what's your inspiration, or who inspires you, or what inspires you in general to write?
Or the love for travel, and also the love for sharing my experiences and my knowledge with people from all around the world. And I also happen to work for one of the biggest tour companies in the whole world, which is called G Adventures. You may, if you just look it up on the internet, you will find it. G Adventures is a company that is based in, our head office are in Toronto, in Canada, but we do trips all around the world. So meeting people from Canada, from Australia, from Asia, from the United States of America, from Europe, you know, that whole thing inspired me, because when I sit in front of Americans and I'm taking them through Africa, you know, I feel the importance of my job. And I realized that I actually need to market Africa. And I'm pretty sure even this interview on your show, by the way, thanks for that, it's going to be viewed by people from all walks of life. And I'm sure there is going to be people that will say, oh, why don't we go and visit Zimbabwe? There is a guy called Leslie, who calls himself the African storyteller. So that whole thing, you know, is an inspiration for me. You know, I want to educate also people who have never been able to visit Africa and show them that there is a lot to come to Africa for. And also, as they travel, and we actually give back, or they give back to the communities that they visit, which then creates happiness in the people that they visit, which is one of our core values at G Adventures.
Yes.
Yeah.
So people might be wondering, who is this guy? Where does he come from? Do you mind telling us more about where you come from?
I was born in a very small town which is called Kariba. It is in the western part of the country of Zimbabwe. A lot will know Kariba because of Lake Kariba and the dam wall. Lake Kariba is actually one of the biggest man-made lakes in the whole world. And I am happy because I was born there, but then I went and I lived in the village for like 7 years when I was doing my primary education. And then I went back to Kariba and I did my high school there. And then later came to Harare because obviously this is the big city and everything happens in the big city. And at first it was more about music. I remember when you probably were not born yet, but I'm glad to say one of the guys who is actually here, you'll get to see him. He's holding a camera somewhere back there. He's one of the first person to record me on video. And I remember that time when we were from Kariba, when we were a band called the True African Connection. Our music was doing quite well. We were number one, you know, for weeks on certain radio stations. That time there was Radio 3, Radio 1, Radio 2. And we were very popular, and we did what we did. It was urban grooves back then. But as you probably know, the music industry, sometimes it doesn't pay that well, depending on the circumstances. And then I decided, let me become a tour guide. But being a tour guide was also because my father he was a game ranger in a national park. So most of my life, I lived with animals, which is why when I talk about animals, even in my book, I talk about them, you know, passionately. Even though some of the stories, the animals almost killed me, but you know,
okay,
it is life. That's how it is. I'm here now.
It is what it is. So, talking of the book itself, African Tour Leaders Campfire Tales.
Campfire Tales, yeah.
What impact does it have to the society?
While I try to, you know, keep it as, you know, as fun as possible, you know, get people to laugh and get people to, you know, be excited. I also educate the people. You know, sometimes I talk about, you know, the habits and habitats of a certain animal. Let's say an elephant. Because remember, I'm telling stories, you know, to clients who are sitting around the fire. So someone might just say, so Les, why is it that we have the lion is a king of the jungle, which means nothing wakes up in the morning and decides today I'm going to hunt for lion. I'm going to kill a lion and eat lion. And I want lion for dinner. Why is it that we don't get an overpopulation of lions? Otherwise, there should be thousands or millions of lions because nobody, really eats them. Mm-hmm. So I explain those things, then I would say, oh, you see, nature has got a way of balancing their population. For instance, during dry season, when all the other animals are suffering, there is no water, there is no green grass, the lions are flourishing because lions are lazy hunters. They don't really like to chase for long distance. So what they do is they just sit at the water hole and watch and say, at some point you're going to need to come and have a drink.
Yes.
So what it means is they flourish. Everybody has enough meat to eat, from the mothers, fathers, cousins, sisters, nephews, and eventually the cubs. But come rain season, there's water everywhere. Animals don't need to go to the water hole. They can walk around and find water anywhere. So lions must hunt. Now hunting is difficult because lions don't really like that because it requires a lot of energy. Like if it's very hot, lions spend, almost the whole day lying in the shadows or in the tree shades because they are lazy animals. They then suffer because now they need to bring down a big animal for everybody to eat. But sometimes it's not possible because everyone is fit. The zebras are fit. They can quickly run away and sometimes they can even give a lion a nice back kick that will kill it.
I know, right?
Yeah, so what happens is now maybe they go for the small antelope like impala or springbok, but that animal is only maybe 10 kgs or 20 kgs. Mm. But with the lions, it's survival of the fittest. So the stronger or the bigger in the family, they eat first. And then it goes down like that. So what happens, the father is going to eat the whole 5 kgs because a lion needs about 15 kgs of food a day. So this animal is only 15 kgs. So by the time the father is done, maybe there's only a little bit left for the mother. The mother comes, eats, there's nothing left for the cubs. So they die of starvation. So that way, that's only one way. There's more ways, but I'm not going to go into that. So when I then talk about those things in the book, I also then educate the people. Those that have never heard about lions, they get to hear about lions in the book.
Okay. Yeah. So seeing that you are educating people how the ecosystem works, will you continue writing books, giving us stories concerning the wildlife?
Yeah, definitely. It's a very wide sort of range in like what I want to do. But the writing, I'm going to continue writing because writing doesn't require a lot of physical energy.
Yes.
It is maybe only mental energy. So since I am probably almost at the end of my career in the tourism industry, you don't want to be a guide in maybe 60 or 70 because clients will come at the airport and they'll be like, where's our tour guide? You'll be like me. They'll be like, okay, hi grandpa, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, but I can write even when I'm 60. I can write even when I'm 50, which I'm not yet. I can write even when I'm 80 years old. Hopefully I get there. So I'm going to continue writing. But at the moment, my stories will be centered on like tourism, what happens in the areas that we visit when we are touring Africa.
Okay.
Yeah.
So do you have a targeted audience that you want to reach with your information through the book?
Not necessarily. I write for everyone. You will get a copy, obviously, of the book. What I do is when I even my English, I know a lot of big words, but okay. I don't use them in my books or in my stories because I don't want someone to be reading my book with a dictionary next to them. Mm. And I want to explain in as simple terms as possible. So even kids can read my book. Mm-hmm. If you are unfortunate, you may maybe come across, maybe in one story, you may come across maybe one swear word, but those are like the general ones, the common ones that I can't take out because when you're writing like a reported speech, You have to say it as somebody said it. If somebody said, "What the hell?" I can't change that. I need you to understand, to feel what the person was feeling when they saw whatever they saw that got them to say, "What the hell?" You know what I'm saying?
Okay.
You following?
Following.
You're picking up what I'm putting down?
Yes.
Super.
So, looking at the journey of writing, did anyone help you coming up with ideas or any form of help that came your way?
Oh yeah, I'm very glad. Well, I might have to mention names. I do have a friend of mine. His name is Kembo Stole. He's in Cape Town. He's living in South Africa, but we live together here in Zimbabwe. He's also a tour guide. He's also one guy that read through my stories. He knows most of them, and he said, "Man, go for it." And I have Diana DeVito. She's an American lady that I once led on my safari, which was in Namibia. I think it was a 12 or 15-day safari. And I used to tell them some of the stories in the book, actually. And she said, "Leslie, you need to get these stories out there." And so she helped me even, mentally, to get me prepared to say, okay, definitely you're going to make it if you write a book. And then there's Patricia, one of my friends for a very long time. She's in the Netherlands. She actually financed the, initial stages of the book, because when the book gets accepted for publication, there are also certain costs. And because it was COVID period, I work in tourism. I didn't get a salary for 3 years, and she helped me with some of the finances. She financed the book, so to speak. And every time, I get a response from even the publisher, I have to send to her so that she knows that definitely something is happening.
Okay.
You know what I mean?
Moving on, probably the audience would want to ask you some questions. So maybe I'm just going to pick one or two people to ask you questions.
Hey, hi audience. You guys happy? All right.
So do we have anyone who wants to ask? Probably yes. Oh yes, my brother, you can ask.
Yeah, I heard you said your stories came from like your tour guide and everything. But I just want to ask, was it a thing that was in you? You can say that this thing, I grew up like to tell stories. Because you see musicians, they will tell you, I was playing this homemade guitars and what, growing up. But as a writer, can you say storytelling, was it a thing that was in you, that you wanted to tell stories even with your friends at school, at what? They would know that Leslie was a storyteller. You could just say, guys, I have a story for you. This is what happened. So I want to know, was it a thing that was in you, or it was something that was inspired when you grew up and according to what you were doing as your work?
Oh yeah, I think storytelling has been with me for quite a while. I remember we grew up at a time when we used to listen to our grandmothers and grandfathers tell us folk stories that I think I know this year. I would, take those stories and then tell my friends, and my friends would be, you can see the excitement, the ooh in their eyes when they listen to my stories. So it has actually always been in me, and I decided at the very early stages I could do the stories as like in music. But then I realized that sometimes in music you don't get to tell the whole story because you got to cut it short and you have to come up with lines that will rhyme and all that. But when you're writing a story, it doesn't have a lot of things like rhyme. It's not like a poem, where you have to be poetic. So I decided I can explain further, what I want to tell people if I put it down on paper, like as a book or as a short story. So it has always been inside of me, but the inspiration obviously came from a lot of factors. There's a lot of contributing factors to that. Yeah.
You answered?
Yes.
Okay. Do we see a question? Oh, yes, ma'am.
All right. First of all, I just want to let you know that I'm so excited to be here to to witness your journey. It's really amazing, especially to hear from a tour guide himself.
Thank
and
you.
He decided to put it into a paper or book. I'm actually a writer in the making, and being here is the greatest thing.
Oh, beautiful.
So I have two questions. The first one being, what is your targeted audience with this book or this book, the tales? Which audience are you targeting? And also, how do you balance being a tour guide and being a family person? Like, do you have a work-life balance? Because I feel like you're always on the road, and people might actually forget you at home. How do you balance that?
Oh yeah, we have to. Okay, first I'm going to answer the first one. What was the first one?
I asked your audience.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, I was just playing. I just wanted to check if you. My targeted audience is everyone. I'm targeting you guys. I'm targeting even universities, schools. I'm targeting the elderly people even. You know, like people who have retired now. They're thinking, what am I going to do? I'm left with, like, especially from the western side of the world. The guys there sometimes know exactly how much long they have to live. So some will decide, where do I go? And someone might just say, oh, okay, I read a book about Africa. I think I want to spend my last days happy that I've visited Africa. But what's there? What's so special about Africa? The animals, the people. Here, you know how we are. We are a loving people. You know, we smile all the time. We even say hi to the people we don't know. We even attend funerals of people we do not have anything to do. We'll be like, I remember a guy was asked, you know, after he arrived at the funeral and he started just wailing and crying with everybody. And after 5 minutes, and then he was like, by the way, who died here? So, you know, stuff like that. So Africans, we are amazing. So we want the whole world to visit us. So that's the first question. My audience is everyone. A kid who just started speaking today, if they can read, let them read. Then family. I don't know what kind of family you're talking about, but yeah, I don't have you know, I'm not married, so I don't have like a wife and children that I can then say is my family. But my family is my friends, and I'm happy I see one of my friends here. I have sisters and brothers, and I come from a very big family. We are 8, so 2 boys and 6 girls. And I happen to be number 5, so I've got a lot of elder sisters. So those are my family, and my cousins, my nephews, you know. I spend time with them. I tell them these stories sometimes, and, you know. So I balance it quite well, because I'm not really needed. I may be needed maybe financially, you know, to say, uncle, I need to go on a school trip, but, you know, it's costing $50, then need. But nowadays, there's a way of sending money all the time. So I balance that quite well. Until that day, maybe when I don't know, get a ring or something.
Okay. So I think we're going to need 2 more questions.
Maybe one from this side.
Okay.
What are the challenges you came across whilst you're writing a book? Probably there's someone out there who's also trying to publish their book, but they don't know how to navigate through probably the same situations that you came across.
Have very honest friends, not those that will give you a biased opinion, or those that will say, oh, this is fantastic, you know what I mean? And then later they'll be like, what the hell is he trying to do? You need those people that will tell you exactly what they feel. And I've been lucky to have such friends who tell me that this is not going to work, or this is going to work. So the challenges are mostly to find a publisher. And believe you me, that is the biggest challenge you're going to face if you're a writer. But don't give up. And you do have a lot of sites, like on the internet, where there's a lot of competitions that you can enter. And to tell you, I actually won one of the contests that was held in 2023. The best non-fiction story of 2023 for a certain organization, which is in the United States. I won against 90 contestants. And those 90 contestants were, you know, those that after having removed everyone, usually it's thousands of people that send their stories, and then they remain with maybe a certain number, and then from that number, I won that contest, and I received like $200 from someone I don't even know, and I was so broke. We went for a couple of drinks, but I was almost at a time when I was like, how come these guys are just, because there's a lot of, no, we're not going to publish your story. There's a lot of, turn downs that you get when you send your stories in for consideration. But then all of a sudden, you get someone that will say, oh, okay, I think we can publish this story, which is what happened to me eventually. And that also motivates me to continue to write. But the challenges will be there. People will read your story. You will read someone's story, and that person has been published by a very popular magazine, but you're like, what the hell kind of story is this? You compare it with your story that you've told your friends, and they've all been like, oh, this is beautiful. And you'll be like, well, it's just the way the world works, but persevere, keep on keeping on. You will get there eventually.
Okay. Last question from the audience. No question.
Yeah, I heard you say you won a competition where you wrote non-fictional. So can you say all your stories, you don't even put fictional characters? Like you say, I thought we could rely on like Samson. Us as readers, we need something that excites us. So it's just a question that your stories are all those true of things that happen.
Are they real life stories? In other words, I would say more. All right. Most of the stories that have me as the actor or as one of the actors, what we used to say, starring what MacGyver or whatever. Mm-hmm. All those stories are real. That's me there. Then, because these are tales or stories that I tell around the campfire, they don't necessarily have to be like my own experience. Sometimes I then say, one day, this guy was, washing his clothes at the river, and, he was whistling, and all of a sudden he hears a sound behind him, and he looks over his shoulder, and there's a lion looking at him. I can also tell stories that happen to others. But I won't use their names, obviously, for the obvious reasons. Maybe someone can say, "Oh, that could have been me," or that. But I mean, the world has got over 8 billion people, so it can happen to anyone. Yeah, but most of the stories are real life stories. Yeah, they're true, very true.
Okay. Speaking of the book, African Tour Leaders Campfire Tales, do you have an exact date on when you are going to launch the book?
It is, the publication date is already out, which is the 28th. What's today? 23rd?
22.
Is it? 23rd. So in 5 days, the book is not, but it's actually being published by a company called Olympia Publishers. It's UK based, so it's in UK. So maybe one of these days I'll be in the UK, doing another talk show with the people from there. But the release date is the 28th. I'm expecting to get the first copies any day, from a couple of days back. I would have loved to be with the books here. I would have loved to give you guys, but I think I will be giving you guys a free copy of those books once they arrive. And they're coming. They're definitely coming. I'm just waiting for them. And but everything is done. All the contracts have been signed. Everything is done. We're just ready to go.
Okay, so besides being an author, do you have anything else that you do?
Just guiding in music.
Music?
Yeah, I do music. But we're not going to talk about music. I do music.
That's all right. Ladies and gentlemen, you have read it for yourself. Mr. Leslie Mukwacha with his book, African Tour Leaders Campfire Tales. He's launching this book in 5 days. How interesting is that? Thank you so much for joining us in today's episode, and to the audience, thank you so much. It was nice having you here.
Don't you want me to tell you one story?
Oh, you have a story to tell us?
Just a quick story.
Listen.
Don't you guys want to hear a story? All right, this is a short one.
Okay.
Usually I stand up when I tell my stories, but I'm not going to stand up on this
Okay.
one. I was in Botswana. In Botswana, we visit a place called the Okavango Delta, which is the largest inland water delta in the whole world. So water flows in from the Okavango River into the delta, ends in a marsh, which is a swamp. It doesn't go anywhere. It just ends there. It just disappears into the ground or it evaporates. So it's a wonderful place to go to visit because it also supports a lot of wildlife and a lot of bird life. So we go there. But when I was there, one morning, because we also cook for clients, like breakfast, lunches, and dinners. So I'm making breakfast. The clients have gone into one of the islands to do a walk, a morning walk where you go with a guide that's walking in front, and the clients are in a single file behind. And what happened is when they came back, they're supposed to have come together with their guide, who is a local guy, talking excitedly. After having walked, obviously you've seen a lot of exciting things. You come back and chatting, but they came back. The guide was walking in the distance, and the clients were alone, and they were like. So I'm busy frying some eggs there. I'm like, what the hell is going on here? And they get there. I can see that the clients, there's something going on. So I asked them, what happened? They say to me, apparently, during their walk, because the guides, we tell the clients, do exactly as I say. So, in the event that we get charged or we get attacked, wait for my instructions. You just don't have to run faster than me.
Okay.
Yeah, so the guy obviously had told them, during the briefing, and then he goes, they're walking, and an elephant comes out of nowhere, and it just charges towards them like it's gonna come and tremble someone. And then it probably was just a mock charge, and then the clients, they're all startled, and they go they're waiting for the instructions from the guide who is standing in front. But the guide has lived with these guys, the elephants, for all his life. So he knows this could be a serious charge. This guy might just come. So he decides to run. But he can't run very far because Botswana is very flat. We don't have a lot of mountains there or hills. So he knows he's not going to get too far. So he sees there's a tree. There's these trees there. We call them the Ilala palm trees. They're quite tall trees and they're quite spiky. The leaves fall off and they leave like really spiky projections. And then this guy went up there like a lizard to the top. So the clients, upon seeing the guy who is supposed to be leading them and protecting them up in the tree, they decided, we also need to run. So they start just going, in all directions. Now, what does the guy say from the top of the tree? Don't panic! Don't panic! Please don't panic! Don't panic! The clients
They're running.
Don't panic! It's just a mock charge! So I'm sure the elephant was like, what the hell? And he just said, no, I don't need to kill these people. No, I think this is just enough. And he turns around and he just runs off into the trees. And the guy comes down. The clients were like, how the hell do you tell us not to panic from the top of a tree? So those are some of the stories that I tell sometimes.
Interesting.
But it's a true story.
Oh, really?
All right.
Thank you so much, Mr. Leslie, for being with us. And I'm delighted to have you here launching your book. It's quite an interesting journey that you've shared with us. I'm actually humbled to have you here.
Thank you very much. I'm happy to be here, and I hope to be maybe on your next show.
Definitely, yeah. I will call you.
Definitely.
Ladies and gentlemen, you've heard it for yourself. Mr. Leslie Mukwacha with his book to be launched very soon. Thank you for watching this show. Till we meet again, Kamwani signing out.
Isere mafeso